Right now, you probably have a to-do list. Wake up, check your phone, eat something, go to work, come home, scroll for 2 hours, sleep, repeat. You didn't invent that rhythm. Neither did your parents. Neither did anyone in the last 10,000 years, really, because that exact structure, waking and working and resting in a loop, goes back so far that it predates cities, predates farming, predates even the idea of Tuesday. So the question is, before clocks, before jobs, before to-do lists, what did a normal day for a human actually look like? Let's go back to the beginning. Around 2 million years ago, on the savannas of East Africa, early Homo erectus wakes up when the light does. There's no alarm. There doesn't need to be one. The sun is the alarm, and it's also the deadline. Everything gets done between dawn and dusk, because after dark, you're prey. Anthropologist Richard Lee spent years in the 1960s studying the Kungsan people of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups living something close to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And what he found broke a lot of assumptions. People assumed ancient life was a brutal, non-stop grind for survival. Lee's data said otherwise. The Kungsan spent about 15 to 20 hours a week actually gathering food. That's it, less than a part-time job. Here's what makes this so important. For most of human history, work wasn't 9 to 5. It was closer to a few focused hours, then nothing, talking, resting, making tools, napping in the shade. Think about that. Our ancestors may have had more free time than we do. But here's the problem. Free time doesn't mean an empty day. It just means the day wasn't organized around a boss. It was organized around something older, the group. Move forward to around 400,000 years ago, and you get a clue about how those hours were actually spent. At a site called Schöning in Germany, archaeologists found wooden spears, expertly balanced, front-weighted like javelins, next to the bones of dozens of horses. That's not an accident. That's coordination. Someone had to track the herd, someone had to plan the ambush, someone had to carve those spears using stone tools, probably over multiple days. A hunt wasn't a solo mission. It was a project, and a day built around a hunt looked completely different from a day built around gathering. So already, by 400,000 years ago, a typical day didn't exist. It depended on the season, the location, who you were, and what the group needed. Now here's the pivot, because food was never the whole story. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, researchers led by Christopher Henshelwood found something dated to around 100,000 years ago. A shell filled with ochre pigment, mixed like paint in what looks like humanity's oldest known art kit. Someone sat down after gathering food, after the necessary part of the day was done, and mixed pigment. For decoration, for meaning, for no survival reason at all. That's a person choosing to spend free time on beauty. Same species, same brains, same impulse you have when you doodle in a meeting instead of listening. Jump to around 40,000 years ago, and days start filling up with something else, maintenance. Not of tools, of relationships. At sites across Ice Age Europe, archaeologists find ornamented burials, bodies buried with beads, tools, red ochre, clearly mourned, clearly remembered. Grief takes time. So does storytelling, which is likely how those Ice Age nights were spent, sitting around a fire, since firelight naturally pulls a group into a circle and keeps conversation going long after the sun's gone. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied modern Kalahari communities and found something striking. Daytime conversation was almost all business, complaints, gossip, logistics. But nighttime conversation, around the fire, over 80% of it was storytelling. Same people, same day. Two completely different modes, split by sunlight. So a full ancient day might look like this. Wake with the sun, spend a few hours gathering or hunting, spend a few hours on tools, art, or childcare, and spend the evening around a fire, telling stories until sleep pulls everyone under. No meetings, no commute, but also no weekends, no vacations, no separation between work and life, because your life and your survival were the same 8 hours. Then, around 12,000 years ago, everything breaks. Farming shows up in the Fertile Crescent, and the day stops being flexible. Crops don't care about your mood. They need watering, weeding, and harvesting on a strict seasonal schedule. And once you're feeding a surplus to a village instead of just yourself, someone has to track who owes what. That's when longer, more repetitive workdays actually begin. Ironically, agriculture, the thing that built civilization, may have made daily life harder, not easier. So here's the full picture. 2 million years ago, short bursts of work, long stretches of rest, built around sunlight. 400,000 years ago, coordinated hunts turning days into group projects. 100,000 years ago, humans carving out time for art, for no reason except that they wanted to. 40,000 years ago, nights reserved for grief, memory, and story. And 12,000 years ago, the day finally hardens into the grind we'd recognize, the one that eventually became your 9 to 5. So next time you're checking your phone, scrolling, chatting about nothing, telling a story to a friend, you're not procrastinating. You're doing the oldest part of the human day there is. The to-do list is new. The instinct to gather, to make something, and to sit around a fire telling stories to people you trust. That's ancient. If you want more stories like this, stick around. There's a lot more where that came from.